Holy shit, Jenna's on time. What the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Holy shit, Jenna be hyped tonight. Yeah, girl. You be hype. So what's up, Andrew? What's going on?
Not too much. Busy with work, but not, yeah, just chilling. What about you?
Always busy. Always busy. Always. But I like
Yeah.
it that way. Keeps
So we
things
got a lot.
interesting. Keeps you on your feet.
Absolutely. So yeah,
Oh,
we
let
got
me.
an eclectic
Yeah,
group of.
why don't you break down in a postmortem way, the the some of the topics we've got. We've got a quite a full show tonight. I'm just gonna put share on Twitter that we are live.
Yeah. So
Andrew, why don't you go ahead?
we're gonna be talking about Drew Barrymore and how she tried to be a scab, but then was held accountable and now is not. Well, a scab is always a scab, but you know. Then we're going to be talking about the climate march that happened this weekend, some updates in East Palestine. I wanted to talk a little bit about the whole Senate and the dress code. So they are loosening up their dress code. And I found some interesting takes on Twitter. I know it's kind of rare that you find some intelligent takes on Twitter, but there were a
Well,
couple of
interesting and
things that made me
intelligent
think.
aren't
What's
always
up?
the same thing.
Huh?
Intelligent and interesting aren't always, synonymous.
Correct, but there was one that kind of made me think a little bit, um, and then um, and then we're gonna end by talking about Sean Penn and some of the things that he's been up to with regards to Ukraine. So yeah,
Full
so
show, baby.
full show. So
So
yeah,
here's the thing. I have to tell you guys before we talk about Drew Barrymore, okay? Full disclaimer and sidebar. I had a Drew Barrymore tattoo for 20 years. True
oh
story.
wow,
Andrew, you didn't know that, did
whoa,
you? True story. Now, why did I get it covered up? Here's why. Because I received an email from her promoting Queen Hillary in a couple years ago, and I was like, "Oh, where's my tattooist? Can I have an appointment?" It was right here. I don't know if you can see it. It was a butterfly, and it said Drew real big. Yep, that ain't there no more. Yep, true story. And now I'm really glad I had it removed. Because I'm like, why do I have so fucking celebrity tattooed on me anyway? Like, I had a Madonna tattoo too. True story. I had that for 25 years. Um,
wow,
yeah, and then I only covered it up because I think it's very weird to have celebrities tattooed on you.
yeah.
But when it's your 18th birthday and you're like, I can get a tattoo and like your everything is true and Madonna, then like that's what you get. So yes, they both have. I don't want any names on me at all, not even my own. No. So yes, I had a Drew tattoo for 20 years, but it has been corrected.
All right. And now that there's no more Drew Barrymore tattoos, so many of you, I'm sure, heard that she decided to restart her show despite there being the writer's strike. Funny thing is, and maybe this is just me being completely removed from this stuff, I didn't even know she had a show um, until hearing about her basically being a scab and restarting her show like the writer's strike. So I don't know if that says anything about how good her show is doing, or maybe I'm just
Well,
completely
it's like
removed.
it's during the day. It's like I don't know when it is. I haven't even watched it to be quite honest, but it's like one of those 11 in the morning like talk show, like
Okay.
celebrity interviewing other celebry.
Yeah, exactly.
If you
exactly.
did know about it, I'd be like, Andrew, what? What?
So if I what? If I what? What did you
If you
say?
did know about it, I'd be like, okay, what's going on? What?
All right,
What are
fair
you?
enough.
Why are
Fair
you
enough.
turning insipid?
So last week, the actress and Drew Maryborough show revealed her show would be returning without writers and would abide by strike rules in not discussing struck work. Barrymore apologized after she received pushback and said there was nothing she could do to make it okay. I have listened to everyone and I'm making the decision to pause the show's premiere until the strike is over. She wrote in a statement on Instagram Sunday. I have no words to express my deepest apologies to anyone I have hurt, and of course to our incredible team who works on the show and has made it what it is today. She concluded, we really try to find our way forward, and I truly hope for a resolution for the entire industry very soon. Um, and so And then, okay, the news that Barrymore would be pausing the show comes days after the talk show host posted her now deleted video apology on Instagram. She explained in the clip that she was accepting responsibility and did not have a PR machine behind her decision to restart the show despite the ongoing writer's strike. I certainly couldn't have expected this kind of attention, she said about her decision in the video. We aren't going to break rules and we will be in compliance. I wanted to do this because I said this is bigger than me and there's other people's jobs on the line. Shortly after Barrymore announced her show would be returning a spokesperson for the Writers Guild told The Hollywood Reporter that it had stayed off the air since the strike because it's now unfortunately decided to air without writers. The Guild has and will continue to picket any struck show that continues production for the duration of the strike, the spokesperson said, adding that the WGA was expecting to picket outside Barrymore's show the following day. And so,
And
yeah,
they did.
and yes, exactly. Um, so yeah, I mean, this just sounds to me like she wasn't expecting the backlash. Probably because partially is her show is like
She
during the
definitely by
day,
that quote, hell
right?
no. No, she definitely wasn't.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're one of the
Um,
most famous fucking people in the world. Like, what are you talking about? But it's like, and it's
right.
crazy because
Right.
you see all these like big celebrities like protesting with the writers and stuff because they know, like, I mean, it's funny when you think about like all these like, fucking, even some of these YouTubers you watch, you realize they have writers, right?
Yes.
Like a lot of the comedian YouTubers, they have writers. Like I know this for a fact because I know them. So, and then I'm just like, as someone who's done stand up and who is kind of funny sometimes, I wonder, I don't know if I could write jokes and then let someone else do them. I'm like, I could say it funnier. Like, I don't know. I find that so weird. So the fact that it's like this big revelation that she's going to do her show anyway, even without writers, like, you've been in entertainment since you were 5. You should be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
What's
Mm-hmm.
Miguel say?
Drew Scabby Moore.
Oh, ouch.
I think it's also worth pointing out that Bill Maher also almost restarted his show, and then,
Oh, he's a piece of shit.
well, of course, he is. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
He's a
again,
fucking
he
racist
eventually was
weirdo.
like, okay, I think an end is sight. I'll stop and do it right. So it is interesting to see that a lot of these people think that they can get away with it, but it sounds like public pressure is getting to them.
I think Drew kind of like really hit me though, because one of the reasons like, I got a tattoo of her and like loved her so much is because of her kindness and her sweetness and everything
Mm,
like that. And then I see this and I'm like, wow, like, was that a facade? Did you harden? What the fuck's going on?
yeah,
Because y'all are already rich. What the fuck do you care? Why can't you treat your employees well? That is your obligation. They are
yeah,
making your show happen.
right.
It's just so fucking ignorant. And then you see someone like Bryan Cranston. Oh hell, Bryan Cranston. And he's out there on the damn picket lines with people. And
Mm-hmm.
he's just so badass and such a freaking kick-ass person. And then like someone like Bill Maher, is like, and I mean, how dare you talk about politics and stuff? You're just a fucking douche canoe.
Yeah. Bryan Cranston. So obviously, I'm a big, well, maybe not obviously, but I'm a
Oh
big
no, oh no, oh
of
no,
Breaking Bad. I'm a big fan of Better Call Saul.
oh
So I'm
no,
a big fan of Bryan Cranston, but
oh
um,
no.
he will always be Tim Watley to me from Seinfeld because that's where he
Wait, I
got his.
thought you were gonna give me bad news about him.
No, 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 no. I'm just
Oh,
saying.
I was like, no,
Controversial
I love him.
take, but he's always going to be Tim Watley to me before he
I
was
I
Walter
never
White.
watched Seinfeld. I know. Don't
Oh,
kill
that's a
me.
shame. That's a
But
shame.
I
He was,
did love me some Curb Your Enthusiasm.
yeah, I don't think Bryan Cranston was a part of Curb Your Enthusiasm, but yes, that
No.
was a funny show.
But what's really weird is Cheryl is married to RFK Jr. in real life, which is fucking weird.
Oh,
You didn't
oh,
know that?
I did not know.
Yeah, the wife.
Oh, huh,
That's fucking weird.
yeah.
That's his real life wife. Fucking strange. So like the Bernie lookalike, and yeah, that was fucking weird. So, shout out to our brother who wrote this. He was on the show.
Hmm.
I forget how to say his first name, and I don't want to butcher it because he's really awesome. But he just wrote this today. Shout out to my East Palestine comrades. They did, a climate group did pay for them to go out to the NYC climate march yesterday. It was the first march pretty much all of them ever did. And it was like 8 miles. So they were very exhausted. It was a great experience for them. However, then I was sent this article, and then I also saw a video clip, but we'll go to this first.
So, Climate March loses credibility with AOC speaking. Congresswoman AOC was the headline speaker at the recent climate march in New York. This was a very poor choice by the organizers. The Democratic Party has made it clear by their actions that they do not support climate action, and AOC is fully entrenched in the Democratic Party. The recent climate march saw a meager 75,000 people attend, and its impact was severely blunted by their choice of speakers and message. While there is no way to stop pro-Ukrainian groups like Razom from attending, the organizers could have prevented Democrats like AOC and Bowman from being their keynote speakers. The focus of the climate march was to convince Biden to do something about it, as the AP reported, and they aimed their wrath directly at Biden, urging him to stop approving new oil and gas projects, phase out current ones, and declare a climate emergency with larger executive powers. It is correct that Biden has done nothing but exacerbate the crisis, but this message is lost when the keynote speaker already endorsed Biden. On the Pod Save America podcast in July, AOC said of Biden, I think he's done quite well given the limitations that we have. And when asked if she would support him, she said, I believe, given that field, yes. Biden has been quite possibly the worst president for climate change. His signature climate bill, the Inflation Reduction Act, contained poison pills designed to open huge amounts of public land to oil and gas drilling. He approved. Okay. Yeah. So this is this part? Okay. Do you want me to stop or keep going?
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, the list goes on. Y'all know
Yeah.
some of the
A
shit
lot.
he's done. I
There's a lot.
mean, and it's really incredible because absolutely he's right. That's the first thing I thought of when I saw she was keynote is she's endorsed Biden. Biden not only is bought by fossil fuel fracking pipeline companies, but also like he's approved how much since he came into office? More than any other president in history. In
Mm-hmm.
history. And furthermore, he fell asleep during the goddamn fucking climate summit.
Yeah.
He fell
Yeah.
asleep. Okay, he can't even say the words climate emergency. So yeah, when okay, cool, yeah, like let's talk about Biden and climate. What are you asking for your endorsement? What, you have no leverage. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
That's like freaking, all these groups come out and like, like stump for Biden, and then they're like, he needs to do that. Why the hell would he? For what? Like, I mean, we heard it time and time again when those climate kids went up to him when he was campaigning. He stuck his finger in their face and said, if you want to end fossil fuels, go vote for someone else. He said that time and time again. So we knew before he was even elected how he was going to be. This isn't a shock. Y'all knew what you were voting for, period. It is what it is. If you voted for him, cool, live with it. This is what you voted for. So it's so fucking frustrating. Now we're going to see Jamal Bowman, who is probably the most cringy fucking person in Congress. Probably.
I don't think he's the most cringeworthy. I think they're.
I don't know. I can't freaking stand
I think Marjorie
him.
Taylor Greene is worse. I think Lauren Boebert is worse. I mean,
No, I mean Dem.
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 I mean, I think there's Joe Manchin's probably a lot worse.
I just can't see. It's his grandstanding. It just,
All right. Let me just see here.
He's one of the people I really had hope for too.
Well, yeah, and I think that's
on Facebook.
That's the thing, right? Is you were hoping that they would really fight the system, and of course they campaign that way, and then they join the Democratic Party, and then they become of it, and it's just a way of how, when politicians are working within the system, they end up being a disappointment because the system is not built for us, right?
Yeah.
It's not, and so that's why it's like, Bowman's gonna do Bowman things, he's. All right, so let's see here. All right.
Are you ready for the new American Revolution? Are you ready for the new American Revolution? Say hell yeah! Say hell yeah!
Do you not find that cringy? Because I'm about jumping out of my skin. Like, revolution? What? The revolution will not take place at a ballot box. I don't even think we can have one, to be quite honest. But the fact that he said that is gross, but the fact that some people cheered is even more gross. Like, again, complimenting Biden and then saying something like that, like you're literally not fighting for anyone. And then you say revolution. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think my thoughts are kind of, similar what I was saying. I do agree, like, Jamal Bowman and AOC, they from the start just endorsed Biden, right? Even when there was a primary, they didn't even have to really come out and full on endorse him. And so it does, unfortunately, it does weaken the message. This is a time where they really could be amplifying in front of a larger amount of people, different activists, right? Different groups that are really working towards having a more sustainable environment. And I do think having politicians that are kind of working within the system can be a distraction from that, right? And I think one of the positive things is that a lot of people did show up, right? Showing that a lot of people do care. and that is the frustrating thing, because it is almost kind of an opportunity for some of those efforts to be co-opted, like we've seen time and time again. I mean, we see it all the time where it's like, going back to when unions are standing up and then they're striking, and then a politician comes in who has a questionable record when it comes to labor rights to get that key photo, right? And that's
something you can't stop, though. It's fucking frustrating, but that's something you can't stop. Like at the first March for Medicare for All, when I was MC in DC, and here comes Cori Bush in. She comes, snaps a few photos, and leaves.
Of course, yeah.
So it's like, it's gross,
but and having them take lead of it, right? Which
well, that's the thing. Like, I'm sorry.
Up to observe, then that's fine, right? Good for you. But when they try and make it so that they're the center of attention, and then get the attention off of it to showcase how great they are, that's when it becomes problematic.
That's the thing. I kind of feel like once you have someone who's actively a representative speak at your thing, it's no longer a grassroots thing. It's no longer an action. It's more like an event. It's not a march, it's a parade. It takes on a total, as an activist and an organizer, I don't want any politicians speaking at any actions I do. I just, no. You can do your own. Like, no. So, this article is spot on. You have these, politicians, and it's politicians who don't even agree with what you supposedly fight for. And they're the ones you ask to speak. Like, just because they're in New York City and they'll show up, like, cool. But disappointing. The good thing is, my people from East Palestine got to go. They did get to meet some people. They found out who Cornel West was. They had no idea who. I'm not gonna throw Jamie under the bus, but there was something very cute that happened. But they don't know what a Green Party is, or that who Cornel West is, or that he was running. Like, they knew nothing about that, but they met him because he was there. By the way, I'm just going to sidebar. I've hit him up over a dozen times asking him to come on here to do an East Palestine panel. I've also spoken with Peter Dow personally. He's not responding. So, I mean, I know people keep saying they want to see him on here. I've been trying. I've met him. I've done a panel with him. Don't know what the problem is, but I've tried. Sorry, guys. I'm done asking.
Yeah, and that really is a shame in a sense too, because if you're trying to hit the ground running with a third party, this is part of your audience to reach out to, right? Yep. People who have been, East Palestine is a perfect example of how both parties have screwed them over, right?
Yep.
And so what a perfect time.
And they're done with the duopoly. They just don't know there's other options. This is a perfect time. They don't want Trump, and they hate Biden. Here is your time. You go in, you tell them, look, if you vote, you can vote on things that matter. You can vote. There are other people out here.
Yeah.
Cornell talks about class war. He talks about capitalism. He talks about environment. He talks about, every fucking healthcare, things that literally are East Palestine. These are like, corporations taking over people. Like, this is his platform in one, and he's ignoring it. That's a problem.
Yeah.
It's a big problem. So,
So speaking of East Palestine, what would you like me to show first?
Well, the breaking news we can show first.
Okay. Got it.
The one that I put breaking news on Twitter.
Yep. I got it.
And this is the first East Palestine post I've ever made that has more than like 20 likes.
Oh, good.
So that's exciting. No, I'm serious. I'm like, wow, this actually has like 300 something likes.
It is exciting. Just it's
It
sad.
is. I'm like, wow, people actually like, you know, think this is worthy of reading.
All right. Give me 1 second. I kind of lost a little bit connection. All right, here we go. Norfolk Southern announced new details Monday about its plan to compensate East Palestine residents for lost home value since the Fury derailment disrupted life in the eastern Ohio town in February. The railroad's program will no doubt be welcomed by some people who want to sell their homes and move away from the town rather than deal with the lingering health worries. But some critics say the railroad should be doing more to address those health concerns instead of worrying so much about economic recovery in that area. And the details are still tentative because the Ohio Attorney General's office is still negotiating an agreement that will create a long-term fund to compensate homeowners along with 2 other funds to pay for any health problems or water contamination issues that crop up down the road. The Attorney General's office said it's not clear when those funds will be finalized because of all the unanswered questions at this stage. Already, the railroad estimates that the cleanup will cost more than $800 million, which includes $74 million that Norfolk Southern has pledged to East Palestine to help the town recover. That total will continue to grow as the cleanup continues, the funds are finalized, and various lawsuits move forward. The railroad will also get compensation from its insurers and likely other companies involved in the derailment. This is another step in fulfilling our promise to East Palestine to make it right. Norfolk Southern is steadfast in keeping our commitments, including protecting the home values of the community, said CEO Alan Shaw, who is working to improve safety on the railroad. This program aims to give homeowners the reassurance they need. Shall I keep going?
No, that's okay. I'm going to touch on a few things. So number one, we hear a lot about this like $74,000 or whatever that they supposedly gave East Palestine community, which implies the people. But I just want to, I've said it on the show before, but I do want to be very clear that that went to building a new park. And they are building a $25 million new amphitheater. Those are the donations they're getting from Norfolk Southern. Also, this is basically this article that came out like an hour ago, the one Andrew just read. It is essentially an extension of something that came out a few months ago. And what it stated on the one a few months ago that was actually more forthcoming was that it would take that. Okay, so they would go up to what the house was assessed at pre-February 3rd. But they said it would also be contingent on approval, number one, and it could take at least 2 years. So, and one of my fears, as well as many of the residents, are they going to make us sign papers that we can never sue them if we get this, that, you know, so
if they get that money or that
right support. If you say I'm selling this for 60,000 but it's worth 120,000, you wait 2 years to see if you get that other 60,000 because it's maybe. And now, like, what do you do now? That's the question. What do you do now? Don't know. But again, these are people who are like, you know, this is, you know, they're giving money and they're no, they're not. And Matt, who was in the comments, I can't see if he's still in there. He did a show with me last Wednesday where we read some Trump derangement syndrome tweets about how Norfolk Southern is helping and you know, it's just a mess. But I would tune in because it's actually, if we don't laugh, we'll cry. But the next one, if you could show the one I put that's breaking news on Twitter.
The what?
It was my tweet that says breaking news.
Oh, okay. Sure. Give me a second.
So this one I posted a few days ago, but it goes with the article that Andrew just read.
Okay, it's not in the. Here, let me go on the.
Yeah, I sent it. I'll send it again.
Okay.
Here it is. Got it. I'll send it again.
Okay. Breaking. East Palestine residents just texted me this one.
Yes.
Okay. Excellent. I got it. All right. Go. All right. Norfolk Southern paid almost $500,000 for a contaminated building at Ground Zero worth $127,000. Why would Norfolk Southern pay 3 times what a unusable building is worth? The guy they bought it from is testifying on Norfolk Southern's behalf in the field trial on the 22nd. This is not an isolated incident.
So right there, I don't know if you can click on it, but this dude, huh? Yeah, this dude here, who, I mean, to me, that's a scab as well. You're betraying your community and saying, you know what? Even though my business is completely unusable because it's at Ground Zero and it's sitting vacant, it's only appraised at $127,000 prior to February 3rd. And I'm going to take almost $500,000 for it because I'm going to testify on Norfolk Southern's behalf. Now, as if that's not gross enough, I then I receive a phone call from a resident that this field trial is actually happening this Friday. Now, one of the other issues is who is testifying at the field trial. Mm-hmm. 2 people. This dude who was bought, I think that's very clear, he was bought, and Mayor Trent Conway. So basically, the entire fucking trial is going to be like worthless. Because the 2 people you have are in the pocket of Norfolk Southern. We know damn right well they're not going to be honest. Mm-hmm. So it's like, you know, they're, Matt, if you were in the area, I think there is going to be a protest outside the hearing on Friday, I believe. And Jenna, I believe, I will hit up Christina to get the details. We're going to talk again later. But yeah, anyone in the area, I definitely recommend. I wish I could be out there again. But yeah, it's so disgusting. You're having 2 people testify and they're both bought. So yeah, that's not looking good. Then the third thing that I had there was an article that came out yesterday. Mm-hmm. Yeah. At least they're back in the news. It's not for good reason, yes. But at least they're back in the news.
Exactly. All right. So this one right here is 4.3 million granted, right? WKBN.
Yeah. And I should say that Christina, one of my East Palestine comrades, she's going to try to film the protest Friday on my channel. So she's never filmed for a YouTube show, but we're going to try it. So check it out. If I'll post it on social media and stuff if I can teach her and all that fun stuff. But yes, that is the article. And this is another example of why headlines and shit and articles skew things.
Yeah. So 4.3 million granted to overall East Palestine's water drinking system. On Thursday, Norfolk Southern announced a nearly 4.3 million investment into drinking water infrastructure in East Palestine. The Ohio Environmental Protection Agency continues testing the water for contamination following February's train derailment. So far, the EPA says no issues have been found. But if the water is safe, why did Norfolk Southern contribute that much money to drinking water safety? Norfolk Southern is donating carbon filters to the village of East Palestine for its municipal water supply. There are large filters, 23 feet high, 10 feet in diameter, very big, said Scott Wolf, East Palestine's water and wastewater superintendent. Wolf says the $4.29 million will be spent in 3 phases: purchasing the filters, engineering costs, and the bulk of the money will be spent on a 4,200 square foot building to house the filters. The monetary commitment includes $661,481 already reimbursed to the village for new carbon filters and initial engineering, as well as $3.638 million to fund additional engineering and new filtration technology and infrastructure. The last phase would be the construction, installation, all of that for the carbon filters. $3.6 million, Wolf said. Construction has already begun beside the current wastewater plant. You want me to read more?
No, that's okay. So first thing, that money that they've supposedly given to do the helping of water, yeah, the residents have not seen a dime of that, and they're still getting fought for not being reimbursed for filters, things like that. And your mutual aid donations, I was able to get I think it was 7 air filters and 6 water filters. So that made a big difference to several people. So thank you for that. But yeah, you always have to, when they say they gave X amount of dollars, you always have to ask, gave it to who? Because they always imply it's a residence and they're not. So the resident who gave me this article said, I want to clarify, I was told by the workers on the field that the reason they are doing this and putting all of this money into it is because it is cheaper for them to, instead of taking out dirty water and dumping it somewhere else, it's cheaper to clean it and then give it to people. Clean it. Now, here's what she said the process is going to be. They take the dirty water, they send it through this thing sends it back. They send it through the next thing, it sends it back. They send it through the next, and it goes 6 fucking pipelines. 6 different pipelines before it comes back. And then they're going to test it and see if it's clean yet. Well, I'm sorry, I wouldn't drink out of it. I'm sorry. Because sometimes things take years to show up, furthermore, things like that. These people are still bathing in bottled water. And you want to say, instead of just getting rid of the fucking water, you want to spend all this fucking money, on cleaning dirty water that's contaminated. It's a multi-billion-dollar corporation who's cutting corners. This is what blows my mind. Andrew, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, yeah, it's ridiculous. It is just, the more you look into it, the more of a mess it is, and the more institutions have failed us. So, yeah, I don't really know what else I could really add to it, but yeah. So.
Yeah, it's pretty gross.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you scan the comments, see if anyone has anything to say?
Jenna says they're saying it's all clean now. And then it's also mentioned, still seems like a band-aid on a severed limb. Um, yeah, it's still ignored widely by independent media, agreed, and giggling about people getting chemical burns. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
I informed
Yeah.
Andrew about that before we went live. Um, so
Yeah.
I don't
It's
know.
absurd.
I wasn't.
It's really.
It, it's the most disgusting thing. So some of you who follow me on Twitter may know that Jenna, myself, and a resident, and little Edward, who you've seen, Christina and her son Edward, he's 4, went in to talk with Mark Durno, who is the East Palestine EPA talking head. And I recorded a 91-minute discussion with him, which was legal in Ohio. And there are some incredibly damning things on it. And all I'm going to say, I'm not going to say when and where, but I'm going to say it's going to be big and it's going to be exposed. I'll give you more info in the next few days, but yeah, it's going to be big. Let me tell you that. I've been making my way around a lot of media places, and I think I found my one today. So keep an eye out because it's. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that the things I have on that tape will at least get them their disaster declaration. That's what I'm hoping. But at the very least, it's going to humiliate the fuck out of him, which
Good.
also enjoyable. Surprise, Mark! I taped you. He's probably like, oh, it's been like 3 weeks. She didn't tape me. Oh, I'm sorry. What? I was just making sure I got it to the biggest audience I could.
Yeah. So this is an interesting topic that came up, right? So I started by, of course, Marjorie Taylor Greene is upset that the Senate no longer is enforcing the dress code for senators, right? And pointing to Fetterman because Fetterman is known to wear sweats on the Senate floor. And then she, of course, clutches her pearls. Sorry, I'm giving my take, but she said dress code is one of society's standards that set etiquette and respect for institutions. Stop lowering the bar. That's rich coming from her, right? But it made me kind of think a little bit more about because I saw one take, right? And I'm just going to pull up a response to this.
Do we know what the dress code is going to be?
I mean, to my knowledge, it's just loosening the standards but I don't know specifically what the dress code is going to be.
Because to me, like when Kristen Cinema did her boop, that outfit, that dress was short. And I was like, damn. So, I mean, that was kind of wild too, but.
Yeah. So this is just a take, right? Republicans, the Democrats are the party of coastal elites, always looking down on working class Americans, right? Also Republicans. John Fetterman not wearing a suit in the Senate is disgraceful. How dare he show up in the tattered rags of the working man? And so this comment right here, I'm a working man. We have places to go to get cheap dress attire for appropriate occasions. This is dumb. I know how to dress for interviews, weddings, court, church, the club, or any other occasions. I think he's being ridiculous on purpose to trying to fake relate to us.
You know it. Jenna and me know it firsthand.
Right. And so I think that kind of brings about an interesting situation, nuanced take, right? I'm curious to hear what people in the comments are thinking too, because is Marjorie Taylor Greene talking in bad faith, clutching her pearls? Of course she is, right? Like she has absolutely when it comes to being whatever the term is, right? quote unquote refined or having standards, right? She is literally just harasses her colleagues for the religions that they practice, right? Like things that I could never do in a workplace. Many people could never do in a workplace, or else they get fired on the spot, right? So,
but she does it while dressing nicely.
right, she harasses people while apparently dressing up to the
But have you
standards.
seen what she's wearing?
Right. So, that obviously is, yeah, can't deny that, right? But I think that person, it's interesting, right? Bringing a point where, and this is, I think, something that we hear a lot, right? Politicians, they do sometimes try too hard to relate to the working person, right? Where it can be cringe at times. And, I guess it does kind of make me think, setting aside what you think of John Fetterman, or maybe part of it is, right? Is that genuine? Is that just him being who he is? And is, and is that, right? So, and is that a way that they're trying to, on a superficial level, say, hey, I'm one of you, while, through their votes and through what they're advocating for, not really leaning up to it. So I just thought it was interesting because...
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Of course, I can't say Fetterman and Jenna and I know firsthand that is why he does it. But, looking at other people, I look at, other people, like, okay, let's take Bernie. He's still going to wear his crumpled ass suits, unmatching suits. He's still going to wear his duct tape shoes because that's who he is. So a lot of politicians you're still going to see wearing their suits. But
Right.
then I'm like, okay, let's talk about Claire Daly and Mick.
Right.
Love them. And, like, I love how punk rock they are. Their hair's a mess. And, like, they dress, like, just totally, like, I don't give a fuck. And they're amazing. So, however, your memories on Facebook, how they pop up and they're like, 5 years ago, you posted blah, blah, blah. Well, coincidentally, last night, on 5 years ago, yesterday, I posted that there were these articles where, remember how Kamala wore Chucks? And everyone was like, oh my God, I'm buying Chucks. I got my Chucks. Yeah. I'm buying Chucks. Oh my God, I got Chucks. And then she wore Timberlands. Oh my God, she's such a queen. She wore Timberland. Oh my God, oh my God. And everyone was talking about Chucks and Timberlands. That's fucking obnoxious. So you're going to have AOCs out there looking for a pair of Nikes right now. Guarantee it. Guarantee it. So you're going to see those opportunists who are going to be like Jamal Bowman with his Wu-Tang shirt. You're going to see people who are going to use it, to try and be like, I'm totally one of you guys. But then you might see some people who are like, you know what? I may wear a collared button-down shirt, but I might just throw on some cargo pants instead of some dress slacks. I see no problem in that. Honestly, I really don't.
I think there's something to be said for the sort of, suits all the time and business all the time, which is, kind of very old-fashioned, and I think has a lot of just classist connotations to it. However, at the same time, doing what Fetterman does, I can also see as kind of condescending, because it's almost like, okay, this is your caricature of what you think the working person does, right? Like, and clearly that Twitter account felt like it was condescending in a sense, because it's like, he doesn't think we know like what a suit is or what how to dress for different occasions, right? And so it is a very sort of rich explaining of like, oh, well, this is what the working person does. First of all, they're not a monolith, and second of all, like, you're assuming they just like, you're trying to say what people just wear rags all the day, right? Like, it's just not. It is. So,
like, I even work in a warehouse and I don't wear Carhartts. Sorry, like, no. But I think the philosophical part of me wonders if representatives start dressing more like a person, will they start understanding more when we go to talk to them? Will they have a more, even subconsciously, will they
Mhm.
recognize that we're the same, that they just have the power, that we're fucking human beings? Like, will they start over time, like, even subconsciously realizing, like, I'm having a conversation with a person and not someone who needs to lick my boots? I almost feel like that could be advantageous.
Hmm. I think it really depends. It depends on the person. I think there are things like I have heard, like I remember I was always told, right? If you're gonna do a phone interview, right? It's good to wear quote unquote nicer clothes because that'll
Yep.
make you less relaxed and come through as more engaged. Whereas, like, if you're wearing sweats and just laying on your bed, right, that energy is going to pass through, right? And so I guess applying that to kind of the clothes you wear, yeah, it maybe might make some difference. And I think at the same time, it's like if you're funded by big money interests, right? Like that's not going to change no matter what clothes you're wearing, right? And
No.
I think I'm going back to this comment that Jenna, I think, pointed out. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think maybe George Carlin once said something about this too. Where it should be NASCAR type outfits with patches showing who is paying for them, right?
Yep, that was
Um,
Carlin.
right, yeah. So I think it's a little bit of the equation. I think it wouldn't hurt. It wouldn't make things worse. But
I just think the term representative is very, like, gross. And I just think, like, even if they were wearing, like, a pair of khakis and a golf shirt, it would still be, like, more like you're having a conversation with a person. I don't
yeah,
know. I don't know. That's my analytical part of my brain.
no, for sure, for sure.
Well,
Um,
actually, people would be a lot more comfortable going to see them. That could
this is
definitely
true.
work in our favor.
This is true. They would be more approachable and
Yeah.
therefore easier to hold accountable.
Yeah.
Um,
They'd start hearing from us a lot more.
hey, nice shirt. Okay, so why are you not? Yeah, like,
What?
no, just like I don't know, like some would be like, oh, nice sports T-shirt there. Go,
Oh,
let's.
wow. I was like, it's a skull. Why is it offensive? Like, I thought you were talking to me. I was so confused.
Um. All right. So, last but not least, we're talking about Sean Penn.
Cuckoo. Cuckoo.
Um,
I
of-
try to stay away from the celebrity shit, but this was just like,
yeah.
and I think it's symbolic of, like, he's the trademark Dem.
Right. Okay, here we go. Give me one
And
second.
what a brilliant actor, too. It's so sad.
Yeah, I remember in high school we watched the Thin Red Line.
Oh, yeah.
And he was in it, and that was a really good movie on just what war does to people, right?
Mystic River.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
It's like you go from
That man
watching Saving
walking.
Private Ryan, which is like, war propaganda, right? And then it goes, and then you're like, watch the Thin Red Line. It's like, oh shit, like this is really harming people.
Irony.
Yeah. So, all right, here we go. Uh-oh. Why is it not loading? Of course, this happens in our last topic.
Come on, Sean. I didn't diss you that hard.
They're like, nope.
Well, first of all, the fucking film is called Superhero. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's about Zelensky, superhero.
All right. I don't know.
No.
Try refreshing this.
Sean Penn is a
Oh, here we go.
co-director of a new documentary called Superpower. It's about President Zelensky and the war in Ukraine. Zelensky agreed to meet with Penn in person for the first time on camera on the same day Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine.
Great that you are here. It's very important now, all this support. And I think your voice, the voice of the guys, I think Americans has to hear. So I think you see that we are just ordinary people who wants to live in our country. Yeah, and how are you here? It's so dangerous
to be here at this time in this country with you, with your countrymen. I mean, there's so much inspiration to be had here.
We spoke with Penn on Friday about his new film. In one of the clips, Andrei Yermak, one of the top advisors to President Zelensky, says to you, the U.S. position should be stronger. If the United States and Joe Biden doesn't do something now, essentially, he says America's over. That followed with a pretty robust financial investment by the United States, more than $50 billion, pledges of weapons. But from what I've heard you say, you think the United States isn't doing enough.
It is my absolute feeling that the caution with which the United States has pledged support, which seemed, in my reading of February 2022, was like a lean on in the fear of nuclear conflict. Something I think all of us should look very carefully at and understand that, of course, is possible, and that's to be concerning. The likelihood is extremely low, and as one of our witnesses in the film says, are we going to let a gangster with nuclear weapons dictate the way we live? So
is that us?
I think that, and that the Ukrainians won't let him do that.
In the documentary, you spoke with a Ukrainian fighter pilot named Juice, who I understand was killed later in a training incident. Was your personal connection to him and the case he made to you part of why you are pushing this point on F-16 so strongly?
I was pushing it when I was with Juice and he was alive. He dreamt of flying F-16s. I think that he was a man who was born into a time where he had to do this extreme thing, and he did it with poise and skill and focus and compassion. And so he had come to Washington to lobby for the F-16s and also was buying helmets for his helicopter pilot friends on eBay here to bring back. So it was like that. And then I suppose now, was it July that it was announced that there would now be an F-16 program, those resources
eventually, yeah.
Yeah, over a long period of time. And a couple of weeks later, I got the message that he'd been killed. I think not only would Juice be alive today, if we had been as bold as we like to claim to be historically as a country, with our principles, with our Republicans and our Democrats, with our leadership. The citizenry too, while we were putting all those Ukrainian flags out, we should have demand decisiveness in this case, because at some point, caution becomes cowardice. But there's still an opportunity for us to do the right thing.
50.
I don't think my eyes can roll back any further. Like, if the U.S. did more, that guy would still be alive. I mean, yeah. United States hasn't done enough. I don't think I've ever seen so much bootlicking in my entire life. Like, it's like a fucking tongue bath. What's your reaction watching that? I think you're on mute.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, all around this, it's terrible the people who are getting killed through this, right? And it's awful. And I'm not going to be one to say, yeah. I mean, it's a terrible, tragic war, and the fact that he's putting the onus on the U.S. that they need to continue to fund military weapons, right? Um, it when it's like we have people who are dying all the time here from poverty, and also, yeah, again, like we are a nuclear power, right? And he's saying that Russia is and Russia, I'm not, I'm not going to be one of those people that's going to put Russia off the hook, right? Of course, this is, they're also not great. They are guilty in this war too. I don't think there are any good people in war, right? But I think to exploit this and say, hey, it's all the US's fault for not doing enough when we are giving them more and more money all the time, and and just giving them all these missiles and weapons, and not doing anything to try and calm this war, right? Like, yeah, we would also, if we actually, promoted diplomacy and a deal like other countries are doing, yeah, then the other people wouldn't get killed as well, right? But it's always provide more weapons, continue war, and it's like, okay, someone on the Ukrainian side, we got to make sure it doesn't die. But yeah, any civilians or any other soldiers on the Russian side can keep dying, right? And it's, yeah, I don't know. That's sort of.
It's absolutely bananas. It's so crazy. So crazy. I don't know. It's just, it makes me sad because he is probably 99% of Democrats. Like a lot of people would watch this and not even understand.
I don't think. I mean, I think it's people in Congress, but I think when you look at polling, Democrats and Republicans, they're like, when it comes to people.
No, I mean, that's who I mean. Like elected.
Oh, got it. Like people, elected officials, you're talking about.
Yeah, they'd be like that. Like the fact that someone died during this, and you're not even talking about the dangers of war, but you're talking about, oh, he was so nice, he bought people helmets.
Right.
Like,
yeah, it's a.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I mean, that money could help so many people here.
Right.
And the fact that, I mean, all the people's blood are on our hands. It's all our weapons, but we're not doing enough. Like, what the fuck? And the fact that he said it'll be the end of United States. I've heard so many people say that online. What do you think that means?
The end of the United States if we don't provide adequate funding to Ukraine?
Yeah, but what do you think that means? Like, what?
I mean, I think it's kind of going with the whole idea that like the U.S. is a superpower and American exceptionalism, and that we are always supposed to be the leaders of the world, right?
So you don't think they mean literally the end of the United States?
Well, I mean, I think it's hyperbolic to get people who have that feeling to really, start to think, oh, are we going to lose our standing if we don't support Ukraine, right?
Right.
So I don't think, I mean, I think a lot of people don't think, I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm overestimating the intelligence of people. I think many people don't take it as the United States is going to cease to be what it is. But I think it's playing into the American exceptionalism that people have, where it's like, we always need to provide all funds to other countries. We always need to get involved in foreign affairs, and not in terms of for providing peace, but in terms of aiding a certain country under another because it, benefits our defense contractors in some way, right? And of course, there are, and at the cost of this, there are so many civilians that have died when it comes to Ukrainians. Who have suffered, who have nothing to do with this. And yeah, it's just It's a tragedy.
Yeah, it really sucks any way you look at it. That's such a, a simple way to say it, but it does. I mean, but on that note, I do want to end instead of a funny, I want to show kind of like an inspirational ending. I don't know if it's inspirational, but it's something I genuinely feel about you guys. Like I really, really do. Are you laughing?
No, I'm just. I'm bringing it up. Like, oh,
I love you, Andrew. I got him to say it back to me last time he was in East Palestine. I was like, love you. And he was like, love you too. I was like, yes, I got it.
All right, let's see here. All right, this right here. It's okay if all you did today was survive.
It's true. Sometimes we don't appreciate how tough that can be. So you're still kicking ass.
Yeah.
Give
All right,
people
Joyce,
a
so
word of encouragement. What inspires you, Andrew?
Right now, just getting through the day because there's a lot going on. Just pushing along.
I think something simple like that is, that's good. Like it's nothing extra. Like you can focus and just do your best. Just get through the day.
Yeah. Make time for yourself when you can, and know that you're doing your best. That's really
self-care, people. I'm telling it to myself too. Self-care. It's easy to forget about that, but it's important. So, Andrew, do you have anything coming up?
Not too much. Just busy week with a lot of other things, but yeah, just hanging in there. What about you?
Tomorrow we have the Queen, Reverend Annie. Woo, 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 woo. Love Reverend Annie. Andrew's going to try and join for a little bit after he gets back from a work shindig. Hoping he could join, but if not, you still got your hostess with the mostest and the, to me, the only real living revolutionary. Like, I know some people call themselves revolutionary, and no. Reverend Annie, if you don't know, she's been on our show before, but she also spoke at in DC the past few years. We did the marches. She's a Black Panther. She was mentored by Malcolm X, Fred Hampton. She's just she knew Castro. Like
she talked to him on the phone.
Yeah, like she gave birth on the March on Washington and kept marching. Like she is just such a badass and just a wonderful person. She's going through a lot of housing issues right now, so she wants to talk about that. But also, I think it's important that, we hear a lot of YouTubers like trying to say, if Fred Hampton were alive, he would have said blah, blah, blah. Let's talk to someone who is a Black Panther, who was in the Rainbow Coalition, who worked with Fred Hampton, let's talk to someone who actually knows. Let's go to the source and let's stop projecting. So I think it's going to be a really great conversation. I always love talking to her. And then I might do a show later in the week. And I have a big announcement coming up for Sunday. So I'll announce it tomorrow night. But yeah, love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Tune in tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Reverend Annie tells me when, and I say, okay. So it's going to be 7 p.m. tomorrow night. Same bat channel.
Peace.
Peace.